Hi, today I want to talk to you about the job situation in the state of Florida. What we currently face is over a 12% unemployment rate in the state. Basically, that equates to about 1.2 million people that are being unemployed in the state of Florida at this time. Those are the ones that are currently on the rolls, not including the ones who are underemployed or no longer have benefits. What we have to do as a state is address this issue right away. Now, my opponent, one of them, is talking about having corporate taxes cut. And I'm all for cutting corporate taxes. I'm all for cutting all taxes, believe me. But at the end of the day, is this really going to create the jobs that Florida needs in order to sustain the economy that we have? What we need to look at is a tale of two states, and one of those states being Nevada. Nevada has a 0.0% corporate tax rate. California, right next door, has an 8.65% corporate tax rate. What we don't see is a lot of companies moving from California into Nevada, even though it's not that far for them to have moved their corporations. So at this time, what makes us believe that we're going to enable these companies or attract these companies to move to the state of Florida? What we need to look at is our port situation. Now, currently a lot of our taxes come from four basic areas. Those four areas are the sales tax, the gas tax, the real estate tax, and corporate tax. Those are the four primary areas that Florida gets all of its tax revenue. So, if we want to cut corporate taxes, we're going to be cutting the revenue that the state of Florida receives, A. But B, all of these things go back to jobs. Because without jobs, you don't need to spend as much on gas, so therefore you're not traveling to and from work, so you have less gas tax coming in for the state. If without jobs, you have less sales tax because less people are going out on a Saturday and Sunday, driving around and spending money at the malls or at the stores, so we're seeing a lowered amount of goods and services being sold. The other is property taxes. As more and more people are without jobs, that means more and more houses are going into foreclosure, which means the property values are being decreased in the state, which then means that more and more revenue that's supposed to have come in from the inflated housing prices is now being decreased. The other issue is corporate tax. Well, without people out spending money, then corporations have less money that they're taking in, so therefore that means at the end of the day they're getting less tax revenue to the state. So all of that goes back to jobs. So what we really must address as a state and as a governor of the state of Florida is the job situation. And in order to create jobs, my plan is to work with our ports. Now, you say, well, that's great. That's going to help increase the jobs out at the ports, but it's not going to increase the jobs for the rest of Floridians. No, that's not the case at all. See, we don't have the opportunity as a state to do interstate trade like a state such as Kentucky or Tennessee or any of the inland states have. So we have to utilize our ports. We have to get trade partners. So currently, 4% of all trades coming into the port of Jacksonville alone are coming from Asian countries. Even though it's further for them to import the product, it's actually cheaper than them transporting it across the United States. So what we need to do is find a way to work with these ports to help us increase the job situation. Now, one of the ways that we can do that is by repealing Florida Statute 311.12. Now, if you're unfamiliar with 311.12, basically post 9/11, we enacted a report that was commissioned in 2000 talking about safety and security of our ports. And we took the entire commission's report and we enacted the full thing into law instead of cherry picking the parts that made sense at the time. Now, this was the interim time between the 9/11 and the time that the federal government enacted their law. So now as a state we have two laws to go by. We have the federal TSA law and we have our own state law. At this time, only 3 ports out of our 14 deepwater ports have been able to fully enact this law. So, even the ports are having a hard time adhering to the law that we've instituted. Now, as an outside company, let's take a look at us and Georgia. Georgia follows the federal TSA standards. So, what has happened in the time that we've instituted this law is we've enabled Port of Savannah to become the 4th largest importer of cargo containers in the U.S. Something that should have been held by our ports, whether it be Port Canaveral or Port Miami or Port Tampa or Jacksonville or any of the other 10 ports throughout the state. So what we need to do is we need to work with these guys and girls over at the ports, and we need to help them because ultimately by helping them, they're going to help us create the jobs that we need. I equate it to a person being a victim of a tragedy and sitting on the operating room table. If their heart stops, the least little jolt of electricity can help to start their heart again. We need that for our job situation. Although the thoughts are that if we enact this or repeal the Florida Statute 311.12, that we'll be able to create about 30,000 jobs immediately, directly or indirectly related to the ports of Florida. It's not a lot of jobs, and I understand that because we're 1.2 million jobs behind the 8 ball. But the least little bit of creation of jobs can help us to create a much better state and help us get back on track. So what we need to do is we need to work with, like I said before, work with our ports in order to do that. Cutting corporate taxes sounds good. It makes great sound bites at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, will it create any jobs? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. You need to look at Nevada and you need to say, if that was the situation, why does Nevada have a 13.4% unemployment rate? Basically, that's a small nutshell of my plan to help us create the jobs here that we need in Florida. I thank you for watching this video, and we'll have more to come. Thank you.